Hey everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron. If you're normal on the channel, you might recognize that I'm not at my shop. That's because I got asked by a buddy of mine that's doing some work on a project for somebody to come over and do a job and wire up this vehicle, which I'll show you in a second. But first, trying out something new. I've asked you guys before to please comment and like on the videos because it helps with the algorithm to help get my channel shared, to help me grow and get more subscribers and yada yada yada. So I'm gonna make it worth your while to leave a comment. Everybody that's subscribed to the channel and leaves a comment on this video is going to get entered for a chance to win a Harmon Garage t-shirt. I've got 4 or 5 different designs, and everybody that leaves a comment, I'm gonna use the random comment generator and let it select which comments which. I'm not gonna manually pick comments. I'm gonna let it be random, completely random. You subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, you'll have an opportunity to win a t-shirt. And once we get through this video and do the thing, I'll fill in a little bit more of the details, but basically what it's going to come down to is everybody that leaves the comments entered. I'll pick a random comment, and then I'll put out a comment saying, hey, so-and-so won. Send me an email, and my email's always in the description of the videos if you need to get a hold of me. So I'll do it that way. Send me an email with your shirt size, your address, all that stuff, and I'll get a shirt out to you if you win. But something new I want to try, give back to you guys a little bit for helping me out. But with that being said, enough of the gibber. It's time to show you what we got going on here. Once again, I'm in my buddy's shop working over here for a couple days, and we have a Cummins swapped 1950 GMC. I think it's 1.5 tons. Full custom bed, full custom suspension, smokestacks, 4-link, air ride, Denali seats, 69 Camaro shifter, custom made tunnel, gauge panel, aftermarket steering column, Hydro Boost brakes mounted down underneath the cab, and all fully custom. Just about the only thing on this truck that's actually stock is the cab, the front clip, and the front bumper. So anyways, they asked me to come over and do the wiring because I used to be a diesel mechanic and I'm pretty good with wiring. So I told them, yeah, I'd come over and do it. Hopefully I can knock it out in a day or two, because if you follow the channel, you know I've got plenty of stuff to do over at my shop. So I just snuck this in so they could get this project done. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. 1950 GMC. I've already gotten started on it. When I came over to start working on it, this was mounted right here with a push button and another switch, and it had a gaggle of wires coming, well, all that stuff on the floor down there basically was coming off the back of that switch panel, and it ran down and tied into this and all that, and it was a big old mess. So he also said he wanted the gauges hooked up. So I went through and stripped all the wiring off of this thing that it wasn't going to need. I stripped all he's not running a heater or AC in it, so I basically cleaned up the motor. Got rid of all the heater hoses, the auxiliary trans cooler, all that. Made this so that this bypasses right to here. Got our oil pressure line coming out of the top of the filter housing. I ran all that for the gauge. Got all this wiring cleaned up, all this cleaned up. Got our temp sending unit right here. Got our boost pressure line here for our gauge. Got that all running. My buddy who's doing all the fab work on the truck built this panel. I just put the gauges and the switches in it and hooked them up. And then if you watched any of the series on Rum Runner, you've seen one of these before. This is the exact same thing I put in Rum Runner, made by a different company. I don't know, it's identical. I don't know if people just buy them from who makes them and puts their name on them or what, but like the packaging and everything was the same. The only difference was the name on the box. But we're running this right now. He wants a master cutoff switch. I'm working on putting this in. It's gonna go, I don't know if you can see it, but right there's a hole in the floor. Master switch is gonna come up through the bottom, go in there, get bolted on. Still have to make a battery box. There's gonna be 2 batteries right here. Power's gonna run from this, from the battery to this. Ground's gonna run from the battery to the frame. And then we'll come off of this with our power, come up to the starter, run this off the starter, put a stud in the frame for a ground, run our ground from the frame to the motor, frame to the cab, make sure everything's got thorough grounds, get power everywhere we need it, and then go from there. So right now I'm working on, we got our circuit breaker here. 60 amp circuit breaker is part of the kit. I need to get it mounted back over here where you can't see it. I've got 3 relays I need to put in up here, one for the lift pump, one for the tranny cooler fan, and one for the electric fan that's not on the radiator yet. And yeah, so gung-ho and go. I've got pretty much all of the prep work done, and that's kind of where I wanted to get to before I even started filming this video, because like I said, I had probably 4.5 to 5 hours just in prep work in it yesterday. And then today so far I've been like hooking up gauges and mounting stuff, and I've probably got 4 or 5 hours in it already today. So wiring's a time consuming process. You guys have seen me do this before. Rum Runner took me 3 or 4 or 5 days. Long Step took me a week. It's if you do it right and take your time, it's time consuming. I'm trying to get this done in 2 days. This should be pretty easy. This is the 2nd day, so I'll have to finish it up today. I might end up having to come over here tomorrow morning, but for the most part, should be able to knock it out. So I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna start getting stuff put together, and I'll update you guys in a little bit. All right, it's the next day. I got some stuff done yesterday afternoon, not a whole lot, but just going through it. I'm not filming a whole lot of, hey, look what I'm doing, because it's hard to get into everywhere that I'm at and stuff like that and all that. But I think I already showed you guys that this was mounted. So I got that mounted. I got the circuit breaker. I don't know if you can see that back there, but I got the circuit breaker mounted behind it. Got my battery. This second battery cable is gonna be powered to a fuse box for some other stuff that the guy's doing, so he just wanted me to run a wire in under the dash room for that. This other one is our power wire for all of this. It's run down and hooked up to the starter. I've got all my gauge lines run, all my gauges hooked up, got all my gauges installed. It's the gauge panel. My buddy that did the fabricating has a plasma table, which you might hear running in the background right now, but he made this on the plasma table and cut all the holes. And this is going to be our 12 volt power to turn on the fuse deal, and then you got your start button. That's the way the guy wanted it. Right now I'm working on this. It's a TCM 430 by E-Trans controller. Basically a standalone computer to run the transmission, because we don't have the TCM from the Dodge anymore. And then I've been working on this most of the morning, figuring it out and doing it, but this is the wiring harness for that. That plugs into our controller over here. And then we've got our factory 8-pin plug off the transmission. It wires into all that. Got our speed sensor wires, all that's hooked up. So right now I just got to finish taping that harness up, get it routed down on the transmission, get it plugged in and zip tied into place. I have to mount this controller here. I got like 2 wires that need to hook up there. One's just ground, and one's the you hook it up to the brake pedal switch so that when you step on the brake it unlocks the torque converter. So there's that, there's that. It's another piece right, oh there it is. And then it's got this controller programmer deal for the trans controller. We'll get it hooked up too. I'll get that done, get some more done. I'll bring you guys back out here, update you again, let you know where I'm at. But we're making progress. My buddy that's doing all the fab work on it, it's got all the front airbags and stuff put in. So it is sitting on air front and rear now. It's got way more air in it than it would have at ride height, just to pick it up and make sure everything was going to work, and it does. So it's looking good. Maybe later on in the video we'll cycle the air up and down so you guys can see it do its thing. But for now, I'm gonna get back to work. I'll update you in a little bit. All right, I finally got all the wiring that I'm doing done inside the truck. I got the standalone trans controller installed. There's a little programmer monitor deal for it. All the gauges are hooked up. Power switch, push button start. All that's good to go, hooked up. The trans controller is by E-Trans Control. Never heard of them before, never used them before. Don't know anything about them, but I did call them to get some info on something and they were very helpful. So I guess that's a plus, but I'm trying to get this gauge cluster back up in here one-handed to show you guys, and it ain't going very well. All right, there we go. Gauge cluster in, got to put a couple screws in it, hold it in place. Push button, start switch, or power switch, start switch. Got a wire here, has to go to the brake light switch. This is the controller for the fuse box. This is hot power for headlights and stuff, and this is power for the gauge lights. So other than that, everything else is done. I'm ready to go out, start hooking everything up on the other end, and just keep on going. Hopefully I'll get this thing finished today and we'll wrap it all up. All right, well, my little project that I wanted to take 2 days ended up taking me 4, but I got it done. So got all the wiring done. I didn't loom anything up. I tied it all up, but I didn't loom anything up because the guy that owns the truck is supposed to wire the lights and whatnot. So I left it all unloomed because that way he can route his wires the same way that I routed mine, and then he can loom everything together. But we got it all the alternator wires come across, all that's clean. All that's clean. I've got my wires that go to my throttle position sensor all tucked in, got fuel pumps, starter wires, all that stuff. Everything run clean here. Got this, the circuit breakers back behind it. All the grounds run down here. They're clean down there. And the only thing that's not done is stud needs to be welded on here, ground to the frame, hook up to the battery, and that'll be it. So I'm bringing it in here. I'm gonna go to the other side. Bring it in here, show you all the stuff we got done on the inside. I showed you before I put it back together, the trans module, all that in there. Here it is. Gauges, power on, start. Got all our gauges. There's the programmer and display deal for the transmission controller. And I just want to take you guys around and show you some of the fab work my buddy did on this. He did an awesome job. It's a 69 Camaro automatic shifter. Got it put in here, hooked up, it works. I'm not gonna move it or nothing because I'm not sure if he's got it all buttoned down, but it's been tested, it works. Hey, use some old connecting rods, or an old connecting rod to mount the steering column right there. And used another one, same way over here. Throttle pedal's cool. It's got a couple wrenches here running through. It's got a square body pedal in it. It comes out, has a wrench that comes through with a T-bar on it. You push it down on the floor. It pulls where it needs to go. Got a couple more wrenches twisted up and used for mounts here. And he's done a ton of work on this thing. It didn't have a firewall. That's another thing, it didn't have a firewall in it. He welded all new metal in, did some paint matching, so it all works, looks good. Done a bunch of suspension work, mounted the trans coolers up here, radiator, intercooler, mounted all that. He's done a ton of stuff. It's turning out really good, and the wiring turned out pretty good too. So I know this video is pretty short, and not a whole lot other than, hey, I'm working on a rat rod and showing you what I did. But you know, watching somebody do wiring's like sitting on your front porch watching the grass grow so you can cut it again, you know. So I just wanted to make a video. I make videos, everything I'm doing, that's what I'm doing this week. So we kind of showed you what we were doing. And this morning my buddy was offered a deal to take a motor out of one truck, put it in another truck and whatnot, and he got to keep one of the trucks. So this morning we both took our trucks and trailers and went to go pick them up. And this wrecker that he's getting to keep is one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and I'm kind of hoping somehow I can end up with it. He wants to probably get it running and sell it, put another motor in it and sell it when he's done with it. I don't know that I'll be able to afford it to buy it from him, but maybe we can work something out. I'd like to have it, at least to put my kind of flavor, I guess you'd call it, on it. But be cool. But here it is. It's a short wheelbase dually wrecker with fiberglass bed sides. All this is metal. All the bed floor and everything's metal, all the winch mounts, and this is all the controllers, all that stuff. But these sides are fiberglass. This is all fiberglass. The paint scheme on it's cool. The bed on it's cool. The fact that it's so stubby is cool. Everything about this thing is cool. It's got the rubber straps with the bar at the bottom and everything. We took it off because we couldn't get the truck running to get the hydraulics working on it. But we didn't really care. We winched it up on the trailer and brought it home. So I'm probably gonna help him with it because it needs some wiring done and stuff, and it's a square body and I know him pretty good. But yeah, it's cool. It's just so cool. Needs a little bit of fiberglass work done on the bed, but not that big a deal. And it's just cool. I don't know what else to say. I'm not a fan of yellow, but I like the yellow and black on this. I like that it's different. I like everything about it except for the fact that it has power windows. I hate power windows and square bodies. But the seat doesn't match really anything, but it's clean and recovered and nice. SM465, got a big block in it right now, but he wants the big block put in the other truck. That's part of the deal. So, but the other truck has a good 350 in it, so the good 350 will probably go in this truck, and the 454 will go in that truck. But this thing still be cool as heck with a 350 and a SM465. But I don't know, it's cool. I'll show you guys around it one more time and then I'll leave you alone and stop saying it's cool. But a good wash job. Clean up the wiring and fix it. Clean all the crap out of it. And get it running and driving. I don't even think I'd want to like lower it or anything like that. It just looks cool like it is. And it's different. I've never seen another one with the fiberglass bedsides on it before. So, I don't know. It's just cool. I wanted to show you guys. I had one of you guys, a subscriber, reach out to me and tell me that they're working on a truck and they want to use like a trigger starter and try to start something like I do, but they don't know how to do it. And I have never showed how to do it because, I mean, that's honestly the easiest way to go and steal a car. But I also like to help people out. So since he asked if I could show how to do it, I'm going to show how to do it on two different setups. One I can do here, and the other one I'm going to have to go over to my shop to do. But when you're doing it, this happens to be on a Ford, but it's a coil. Coil's a coil. On your coil, you're going to have a positive and a negative side terminal. So you want to put 12 volts to the positive side of that. And then Fords are really easy, the older ones, because they don't have the solenoid on the starter. They got a separate solenoid over here. So you see the starter solenoid, you got this post that has the wire coming to it, and then you got this post. So when you shoot power to this post, it closes the circuit in here, and your power from your battery goes to your starter. So you can just take a screwdriver and run across from the small wire to the big wire, and that'll make the engine crank. So if you were trying to get this running, jump across the solenoid, put a hot wire off the battery onto that coil, crank it. It starts up. When you want to shut it off, you take the power away from the coil, it loses spark, and then it shuts off. So I'm gonna run to my shop, which is right up the road, and show how to do it on a couple of different, or a different ignition system, in case that's the kind that he's working with, and we'll go from there. All right, so I showed you how to do the coil one with a Ford starter. Now I'm going to show you how to do an HEI Chevy distributor, which the Chevy with a coil is the same. You still just put 12 volt hot to the positive side of the coil, and then they're not going to have a starter solenoid though. They're going to have a starter like I'm about to show you right now. But this is obviously not a full HEI distributor. It's just a cap. But I don't think I have a full HEI right at the moment. But if you're looking, this is going to be at the back of the motor, and this should be going towards the driver's side. It's going to have two prongs on here, and the cap that goes on top of this is going to say TAC and positive, or TAC and POW, or TAC and have a plus sign. So what you need to do is put 12 volts to that plus sign. It should be the back one. And then this starter fell apart on me, but right here where my finger is, you'll have your stud where your battery cable goes to, and then you'll have this stud here that's closest to the block, and you should have another stud over here. If you look on them, one should say R, or this one's going to say S, this one's going to say R, and you always, S is the one that you want to hook your trigger onto. So you clamp that on there, and then you can clamp the other side to the stud if you want, or you can run it up and hook it up to the positive side of the battery. So stud closest to the block, small stud closest to the block, and this stud or the battery. 12 volts here on the back, the positive one. And that's how you start an older carbureted Chevy. Now, if you start an older carbureted Chevy that has a coil, there's a good chance it has this style starter, or it has the starter with the foot pedal. If it has the starter with the foot pedal, you should just be able to hook the battery cable up, kick it, and it should start. So put 12 volts to the coil, kick that, and that should do it. So it's been a little bit of a weird video. Like I said, I was approached by somebody to wire that rat rod for them. Not something I usually do. I don't usually work outside my shop. I don't usually work on something else while somebody else is working on it. But they asked me to do it. My friend's the one that's working on it, and he said, hey, can you come over and knock this out for him? So it'll be done when I'm done. And I said, you know what? We'll work it out. So I went over there, and like I said, I wanted it to take me 2 days. Took me a week, but got it all done, got everything he wanted done. He's coming over to look at it this afternoon. I'm sure he's gonna be really happy with it. My buddy's happy with it. He thinks it looks great. So next video, we'll get back to our regularly scheduled program. But yeah, don't forget, leave me a comment. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave me a comment, hit the like button, and you will have a chance to win a t-shirt in your size, shipped to your house, just for you. So I'm completely exhausted. It's humid, I'm tired. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.